Thanks also, Adam, to you and Oko for giving us a platform here to bring our speakers together and talk about what I think is a really important issue. Obviously, this month's topic is workforce planning, and we want to kind of shine a spotlight on some of the things that we're hearing from DOTs with our subject matter experts here on issues and challenges that we're seeing with workforce planning, as well as solutions, practical solutions on how to mitigate any sort of issues we're having with workforce development and planning. This will probably be the first of two webinars that we're going to do where we kind of highlight road weather management, workforce and training solutions and challenges. So thanks for joining us for June's webinar. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Adam. So this is just kind of an overview of the Spotlight series that we're doing. It started last month. If you were able to join, we had a really good webinar focused on Hurricane Ida and some of the impacts from that massive event. Right now, we're planning on continuing this through probably October of this year, but given kind of the popularity and some of the feedback we've heard, I wouldn't be surprised if we just keep this going monthly for the near future. But as of right now, we have everything planned out through October. So it's the first Wednesday of each month, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to join each month. Basically, we're looking at highlighting various road weather management challenges due to different weather events, some of the lessons learned from our stakeholders and subject matter experts, as well as highlighting practical solutions. We have 4 topic areas that we've highlighted when we kind of scoped out this series. We wanted to focus on severe road weather impacts, road weather maintenance and operations challenges, road weather data sources and applications, as well as road weather research and innovations. I think this topic probably falls under the maintenance and operations challenges. So let's go ahead and start digging into it. Can we go to the next slide, Adam, when you get a chance? So for today's webinar, we have some excellent speakers. We have Mitch Wood, who is the District 6 Maintenance Manager from Iowa DOT. We also have Ben Dow, who's the Director of Public Works for the City of Fargo, North Dakota. And last but certainly not least, we have Brett Hodney, who's the Public Services Director for the City of West Des Moines, Iowa. And they're going to be talking to us about some of their labor shortage issues, their service impacts, as well as some of the agency mitigation techniques that they've developed to assist with some of these challenges that we're going to highlight today. Next slide. So what we're talking about today is basically all season road maintenance. I know when we think about maintenance and operations and sort of boots on the ground, we automatically start thinking about winter operations. And yeah, that is a big focus of this, obviously, but that's a big challenge. But we really want to start thinking about how all season road maintenance and operations is very important. So some of the challenges of filling these positions and keeping folks in the field, boots on the ground, that applies to both full-time as well as seasonal, temporary, and hard to fill positions. So we really want to highlight some of the data that we're seeing right now and raise awareness. Fortunately, Rick Nelson, who's SICOP's coordinator in AASHTO, was able to highlight some of these issues through some great data that we'll share with you here soon. But some of these workforce shortages have various causes. We obviously deal with retirement, also competition from private sector, maybe even cities, counties. These employees move all over, which is to be expected. But some of these are, in more high demand than others. Obviously, operators and field staff are going to gravitate towards, certain wages and bonuses and benefits that some agencies might be able to provide. They're also going to be looking at hours, as well as their training programs and some of the skills that they can develop to kind of further their career. As they move, maybe they're a mid-career hire or a new hire. There's specific skills and training curricula that these operators want to gravitate towards. Let's go to the next slide, Adam.
And David, I apologize. I skipped the polling slide on accident there. If we
Oh
want.
yeah, we need to, let's go back. Sorry, I didn't notice that. Before we get going, let's open it up to some polling questions. Thanks for catching that, Adam. So we have 3 questions. The first is, what are the main barriers that your organization is facing when you're finding and also trying to retain staff? And you'll see a pop-up window here as I speak through the questions. So feel free to fill those out. The second question is, what's your agency doing to mitigate the impacts of labor shortages? You can select all that apply. And then the last question is an open field question. What are the resulting impacts that you're seeing if you are dealing with labor shortages? Just a short answer there is sufficient, and we'll give it a little bit of time here as we start seeing some of the results of the polling and talk through those. And I'm sure the speakers today will certainly talk about most of these, but it's always good to see what the data is showing from our audience. So we'll give it another minute here and then switch it over to the results. All right. Do we have any good results to show, Adam? Let's see what we got here. So for the first question, the main barriers that your organization is facing looks pretty even across the board. Actually, all these are pertaining. Looks like the lead one is compensation with wages, benefits, and bonuses. Second highest is competition from the private sector. And then tied for third place, we have recruitment and reduced available labor pool. Nobody selected other. So it looks like those 4 categories are pretty even on barriers that your organization is facing in finding staff and keeping staff. The second question, what is your agency doing to mitigate the impacts of these shortages? It looks like the highest right now at 53% is increasing wage rates, which is really good to hear. Also on the job training. I know that's something we'll probably highlight more so during next month's webinar. We'll be looking at maintenance training programs and academies. Also changes in recruiting practices. I'd be interested to know a little bit more detail on what the people who answered that are meaning. So feel free to put that in the chat. Also trailing behind a little bit, we have enhanced benefits, as well as providing signing and or performance bonuses. So also more monetary compensation. So that's good. I don't know, I can't see the third question, Adam. I don't know if you can on the resulting impacts of labor shortages.
Yeah, I can see it over here. The most prominent answer is just doing more with less. That came in from a few folks, and same with just remaining short staff. Some of the other items we're talking about longer shifts, reprioritizing, delaying construction and maintenance, and simply not meeting performance targets. And then one mention again on the training, needing to trying to up the training and increase the training cycle.
Yeah, and that's good feedback, because we know one of the main concerns here is the performance and levels of service being impacted by reduction in workforce, or maybe the workforce isn't being trained appropriately. So those are direct benefits that we see on the roadways, particularly when we talk about things with winter operations. When that level of service starts dipping down, or we have to reduce, expectations for the public, then you start hearing a little bit more about it in some things like the media, or we hear grumbling politicians, or whatever the case may be in your particular agency. So that's good to know. And if those levels of service are being impacted, then we know we do have an issue here. So let's go ahead and go back to where we were, Adam, in the slide deck. So I spoke earlier about, we had Rick Nelson lined up to present some of his data. Unfortunately, he's not able to attend, so I'm gonna be covering his slides. So this is from a polling request that he sent out through SICOP. This took place in February of 22, and there were 114 respondents. You can see where they break down. A lot of 31 state DOTs and 51 cities and counties. So 84% of the respondents are experiencing higher than normal vacancies for snowplow operators in particular. Obviously, since it's through SICOP, this is going to have a winter operations focus. That's a pretty substantial number there that we're seeing. 81% of full-time employees, and then it drops down significantly from there. But even still, seasonal and temporary employees are usually the ones that, help fill in some of those vacancies that might not be filled from full-time employees. And those are showing 44%. And then contract operators at 31%. So obviously we're seeing through this polling, at least, that there's higher than normal vacancies when it comes to snowplow operators, which obviously, through this data is impacting full-time employees for the most part. Rick's polling also noted issues related to competitive salaries and benefits, as well as the ability to attract and retain CDL operators. We kind of heard about that, where some of the polling results from today showed that, DOTs are looking at upping those signing bonuses or those just seasonal bonuses. They're also looking at wages, wage compensation, that sort of thing, to be competitive with some of those private agencies, as well as some cities and counties, or whatever the case may be. And then something we touched on earlier was 25% of respondents had to modify their level of service to reflect those staffing shortages. And then an additional 6% were considering additional modifications. So a quarter of the respondents are thinking about needing to modify the snow and ice level of service grading system for their agency. So again, a pretty substantial amount. To mitigate some of these labor shortages, agencies have been offering some of the things we already touched on, but incentive pay, stipend, difficult to fill positions might have bonuses, training programs to get your CDLs for operators, walk-in interviews to eliminate the application process. I thought that's pretty interesting. And then creative advertising through social media blitzes, just to try and get folks to come in and see, maybe just apply or talk to a recruiting or HR person at your agency. So everybody's thinking about this. We have some great speakers today. So that's kind of the background and the foundation that we're laying to have this webinar, and to bring in folks who are seeing this on the front lines and to speak to their challenges and some of their solutions to mitigate these challenges.